Hi, welcome to Remember This. I'm your host, Denise Bolin, and I am so honored and excited to have with me Bill Kinison. Bill is a Grammy winner, best-selling author, award-winning producer, and the brother and manager of the infamous comedian Sam Kinison. Bill, welcome to the show, and thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you, and thank you for inviting me. And
It's
I hope
my
you had a
pleasure.
Merry Christmas.
I did. Thank you. How was yours?
It was great.
Great.
Family and a few friends, and we had a good time.
Nice. That's what it's all about. Now, you're in Texas, are you?
San Antonio.
Nice. My daughter lived in Austin for a while. She loves Texas.
Oh, I love it. We've been here. We moved here about 2.5 years ago to be with my daughter and son-in-law and grandchildren, and I was ready to leave California, so it was just it was perfect, and we're happy we're here, and we actually have had several friends now that have moved here
That's
after
great.
we did, and so we're kind of getting our own community.
That's wonderful. And so you go somewhere where it's really hot. You grew up somewhere where it's really cold, right? You came from Peoria,
Yeah.
Illinois. What was it like for you guys growing up there?
Well, first we grew up in the projects there in Peoria, the same projects as Richard Pryor, except we didn't know Richard then. We did know him and became really close friends later on. And so we were not affluent. And I told Richard one time, because a lot of his act was growing up in the projects. And so he was talking to me one time, and we was back in the green room. I think Sam was performing and was just talking. And I told him, I said, I don't want to hear your crap about the projects. And he's like, what do you know about it? I said, I grew up in the same projects you did. And so he didn't believe me. And then he was like, what was your address? What was your unit number? And so I told him. He's like, man, you really did. And I said, yeah, we were white, so I don't want to hear how tough you had it.
That's right.
But we grew up there, and we knew what cold was. Every year you'd get at least a few days of 100 below wind chill. And then in '86, we moved to California to manage Sam. And he hit right after that, not because of my genius. It just happened to be the timing. Rodney Dangerfield actually is the one that gave him his break. And we stayed there for all this time, which is what, I guess, over 45 years. And
Wow.
And then we moved here, and that's how we got to Texas. So you never know where you're going to end up.
And that is so true. You never know. I'm born and raised in Brooklyn. I'm still here in New York. I'm on Staten Island, but who knows? Who knows where I'll end up?
Yeah.
You know, there's a migration going on. A lot of people moving out of New York.
Yeah, a lot of people moving out of California.
Yep. Well, they're like twin states.
They don't like Californians in Texas. So
No,
it's a good thing I had this Oklahoma accent all these years, because I just fit right in.
That's right. I love it. So Sam Kinison, he got me through so many depressing times that, you know, when I was feeling down, I would just put on his videos, and he would make me laugh, and he was so funny, and he would just say the things that we would think but wouldn't dare say. You know, that's what I love about him.
I was thinking of you saying he got you through so many depressing times. He put me in so many depressing times. He was a handful, but I'd do it all over again.
I'm sure you would. I'm sure you would. So, okay, so take us back. So you come from a family of preachers. Your father was a preacher?
Yep.
Okay, so you grew up in the Pentecostal
You
church?
better say my mother was a preacher, because she'll come back and smack
you. Okay. Okay,
She's
both
a
your
little touchy
parents.
about that. I don't know when she preached, but she was a preacher.
Every day of her life, I'm sure she was preaching.
Yeah, I'm sure with
Maybe
the
not.
boys, I'm sure she had plenty to preach about.
That's right. So, all right. So Sam was a street preacher, right? That's what I read. He started out. Did he preach like on the streets or no?
Oh, no, not really. He preached in churches and things like that. Wasn't really very successful.
She's probably talking about Virginia Beach.
Yeah. Sherry just spoke up, said probably talking about Virginia Beach. He spent
Okay.
a summer there, I think, preaching in the coffee houses and on the beach and stuff like that,
Nice.
and working for Pat Robertson, if you can believe it.
Oh, was he? Oh,
Oh,
I didn't
yeah.
know that.
Yeah. And he just, we had an older brother that was had a miraculous thing in his life. He was born legally blind and severely mentally handicapped, and God healed him at 13. And he said an angel appeared to him, and he was healed, and he was healed, and ended up
Wow.
being the best evangelist I had ever seen.
Ooh, I'm on fire! I don't know what you're gonna do, but I'm gonna celebrate. I don't know what you're gonna do, but I'm gonna celebrate. Jesus brought me forth in a brand new way. He took out my struggles, told death, death, you better behave. I'm going to celebrate my joy, celebrate my arrival, 'cause I'm not blind and I'm not sick, because Jesus came and gave me a fix. He told me it's all right to shout, 'cause you're not a handicap no more. You're gonna dance with the dancers, you're gonna shout with the shouters, you're gonna live like you never lived before. I don't worry and I don't fret, I got a God never failed me yet. He brought me out of bondage many years ago. He put a dance of David, he put a strength of Samson, and he puts a humble spirit in me that I can say again, I'm gonna celebrate.
And so my brother Sam had to follow him and then follow me. And by the time he got through, there wasn't much left for him to follow, and he just wasn't very good. He didn't have in the ministry, his weakness was stage presence, which when you see him in comedy, that's hard to believe. But
Exactly.
comedy was where he was supposed to be. I don't think Sam was ever supposed to be a preacher.
Yeah.
I think he was created to be a comedian.
Yeah.
Because he was a natural from the very first time he's on stage.
He was a natural. He really was. Yeah. And he took over the whole audience. Like the audience was like, give us more, and it's funny because when I watch his videos, I always look at the audience reaction, like, how are they going to handle what he just said? But they loved it. He was so over the top and everybody loved it.
I think one of my most enjoyable times was our first tour, where we were playing, to 5,000 and the big arenas and all that. But I loved going out and watching the audience, because a lot of them had no idea what they were coming to see. All they knew was this guy had been on Letterman,
Right.
He'd been on Saturday Night Live, he'd been on Carson. So I think they're expecting a Jerry Seinfeld. And instead they're getting Sam giving them advice on everything from sex to religion to politics, you name it. And I used to just love, especially the women, the old women's reactions with Sam up there, not having a clue what they were in for.
Right. He had no filter.
And watching the husband there laughing and trying to hide it from his wife, because he knew he was going to catch hell when he got home.
That's right.
And that was probably the most enjoyable time I had as far as in tours, was our very first tour. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have a favorite of his, any of his stand-up? A favorite?
What of his material?
Yeah, of his material.
I thought, to be a preacher, I thought his Jesus material was just hilarious. And the funny thing about it is, when preachers weren't in the church preaching, and you'd go out after service to a restaurant or something after the service was over, that's the kind of things that they would laugh about and and joke about. And Sam he just did a whole routines out of them.
Yep.
And I just thought that to me, that was some of the funniest stuff.
Yeah.
Was the stuff that he would do on Jesus, but he never had a weakness. And the other thing that was really ironic, I guess, was he never wrote a routine. I don't know if he knew how to write a routine. Everything was off the top of his head.
Wow.
And his genius ability was really making anything funny. He wasn't a joke teller, he was a storyteller, but he could make anything funny. I remember his big break was on Rodney Dangerfield's Young Comedian special.
Yes.
And if you remember, he opens that up by talking about starving children.
Yes. I was going to say, that's my favorite.
Raji in the mud hole, and don't feed him yet.
Yes.
I want hunger. I know the crew could give him a sandwich.
Yes.
And all that kind of stuff. And when he told me he's going to do it, I said, well, brother, you're going to find out if you're funny or not. When you start making fun of starving children, you better be funny. And he was funny.
And just trying to help. Well, like I said, I'm just trying to help. I'm trying to just do whatever I can for people. Like the World Hunger thing, the USA for Africa. Isn't that great? You guys hear the song? Nice song, isn't it? Beautiful. I'm like anybody else on the planet. I'm very moved by world hunger. I see the same commercials. Those little kids starving and very depressed. And I watch these things on TV and I see those commercials and I look at it and I go, God, how cruel, you know? To see a little kid out there and I go, fuck, you know, I know the film crew could give this kid a sandwich. You know the kid's not out there, filming a letter from home with a Betamax, huh? You know, there's a director 5 feet away going, don't feed him yet! Get that sandwich out of here! It doesn't work unless he looks hungry! But I'm not trying to make fun of world hunger. Matter of fact, I think I have the answer, because I spend a lot of time working it out. And if you want to stop world hunger, stop sending them food. Don't send these people another bite, folks. You want to send them something, you want to help, send them U-Hauls. Send them U-Hauls, some luggage, and send them a guy out there that goes, hey, you know, we've been driving out here every day with your food for like the last, 30, 40 years. And we were driving out here today across the desert, and it occurred to us there wouldn't be world hunger if you people would live where the food is! You live in a desert! Understand that you live in a fucking desert! Nothing grows out here! Nothing's gonna grow out here! You see this? Huh? This is sand. Yeah. It's sand. You know it's going to be 100 years from now, huh? It's going to be sand! You live in a fucking desert! Get your kids, get your shit. We'll make one trip. We'll take you to where the food is. We have deserts in America. We just don't live in them, asshole! You guys been a great crowd. Thank you very much. Sam Kinison. I love you. Thank you. Thank you.
He was
And,
hysterical.
that 6 minutes changed his life and changed my life. It changed all of our lives.
Yeah. That one actually that's my favorite. And I've repeated that to people so many times throughout my life. Did you ever hear what Sam Kinison did? You see what this is? It's sand. Do you know what it's going to be? It's gotta be sand. I loved it. He went from 0 to 100 in like seconds. I loved it. And I just actually turned my brother on to Sam because I just started watching all these videos and he never watched any of his routines. He was cracking up, and especially because he's divorced. So
Yeah, well, no wonder he thought it was funny.
he really related. Yes.
You know, the ironic thing about that young comedian special is Rodney had to talk us into doing it. He had seen Sam. Well, he's seen Sam first time. Sam been doing comedy about 6 weeks. And we were down in Houston. And when he walked in with his entourage, I told the bartender, they didn't even have servers, I don't think. And I told the bartender, said, whatever Rodney and his group wants, I'll take care of it. Well, he went over and told him. So Rodney had me come over and sit by him. Sam happens to be on stage, but Rodney has no idea that we're connected at all. He don't even know who either one of us is. And then I remember him watching Sam, and then he turns around to me and said, I'm gonna tell you, this kid's a effing genius. Said he's going to be big one day. I don't know how long it's going to take him. He's not too disciplined, but he's going to be big. And then I introduced Sam to him afterwards, and from then on, we were friends until, you know, Rodney passed. And but Rodney saw him and there at the Comedy Store about 2:00 in the morning, and so he told Sam and said, "I just bumped a guy." Well, I didn't know until Rodney died. The one that he bumped was Tim Allen.
Oh gosh.
And Tim Allen at Rodney's funeral was still pissed
Oh,
that he had got bumped.
that's
And,
funny. I mean, he did very well for himself, but that's funny.
I
He's still
told
pissed.
Tim that. I said, both of you did all right. I don't know why you're upset. And he said, because I was ready, and Rodney told me I wasn't ready yet. And he told Sam, so I just bumped a guy. I want you to do this young. And so Sam thought it was a contest. And Sam didn't do contests. He never would have won a contest. And so Rodney asked around, said, "Where's Bill? Where's his brother at?" And they said, "I think he's at home." He called me about 3:00 in the morning and told me, said, "Sam's missing an opportunity. I want him to do this young comedian special." Well, I tell him the same thing that Sam did. Sam doesn't do contests.
Right.
And I'll never forget, and I won't use his language, but I remember him going, "What is it with you two effing guys? It's not an easy contest. It's a showcase. I think it could help him." And so we really just went up there because we was getting a free trip. And then they recorded it at Dangerfields. Well, the night before they recorded it, they ran a live show so the grips and everybody could get their positions for the next night. And Sam cleared the room. Everybody walked out on him.
No, really?
Yeah, he was the last.
This is
one
in New
up.
York? This is
Yeah.
New York at Dangerfields? Wow.
And so he comes off the stage and he told Rodney, he said, "I can't get going in 6 minutes." And so Rodney told him, said, "Tomorrow night you're going to kill, Sam. Tomorrow night you'll kill." Next night came, Sam killed, and that was it. 6 minutes, it changed his life right there.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
So Rodney had to talk us into it. We weren't going to do it.
Well, see, Rodney was very smart. He had an eye for
Well, he
talent.
helped a lot of young comedians.
Yes.
And I think it was from his own experience. His no respect routines really had nothing to do with his wife. It was the way the comedians had treated him when he first came up. His real name was Jack Roy, and he got nobody would give him any respect. And so he got out of comedy for 12 years, came back at the age of 45 as Rodney Dangerfield. Well, I can start naming Jim Carrey. He brought back from the dead. He discovered Sam Kinison.
Wow.
We could go on and on of the young comedians that Rodney helped, and Sam's the top of the list.
Yeah. Thank God for that. Yeah, I use Rodney Dangerfield a lot when I say, listen, don't worry about your age. He didn't get famous until he was 58, right? Yep. Rodney Dangerfield. Yeah.
Yep.
He didn't give up. I mean, I think, what was he selling, like aluminum siding for 10 years?
Well, he was everything. He was a handyman, did aluminum siding, whatever you wanted.
Right. But it made for good material when he came back, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Now, there's a story about Sam's trench coat.
Oh, yeah. Well, that actually belonged to Richard Widmark.
Wow.
And Sam was dating Yana Widmark, his daughter. And so he stole it. That's the one that I'm trying to think of. The show, was it Mannix that Widmark? What was it? Maddox. Well, anyhow, whatever show, TV series that Richard Widmark had been working on. Well, Sam steals the coat for good luck and wears it on the young comedian special. That's the first time he wore it. And from then on, he wore a long coat. From then on, that was always his good luck charm. But that it actually belonged to Richard Widmark.
Oh, that's so funny. That's so funny. And the beret, or he would have like a bandana. Yes, we know that. But
anybody didn't know it.
Yeah, we kind of figured that out. But
I decided to shave my head. I was like, screw this.
There you go. There you go. Now they sell, I don't know if you know, they sell hats with hair attached.
Yeah,
so you can buy a hat and has the hair.
Oh, yeah.
Too funny. Yeah. Too funny.
That's what I want to get.
Yep. So now he went from preacher to stand-up comedian, and his material was very risque. What did the family think about that? Were you guys shocked a little bit by the things that
I
he was
was the
coming out
first
with?
one that seen him. I had really actually, Sherry and I had actually supported him the 7 years he's in the ministry, because he never made as much as $5,000 in any one year. And he had never been successful at anything in his life up to that point before comedy. I mean, not with women. He never had a job that I know of. I don't know of him ever getting a paycheck. And he wasn't successful. So I went down, saw him at Houston. He'd been doing comedy about 6 weeks. And after I watched him the first night, I remember I called Sherry back in Illinois, and she said, well, what do you think? And I said, pretty much what Rodney did. I said, I don't know how long it's going to take him, but I'm going to tell you, one day he's going to be big. And that was his thing. Comedy was his thing. He paid the price. He went out to California, was a doorman at the Comedy Store for 5 years.
Oh, wow.
And so it wasn't like, everything just happened for him, but he'd made up his mind. That's what I'm going to do, and I'm not going to change.
Yeah.
And so that's why you never saw a change in his material. He refused to compromise. He figured he had fought too hard to get there, and he wasn't gonna water it down now. So, and I think he kind of liked the trouble that he would get into. I think he kind of liked that bad boy image.
Right. And he was like a rock star, basically. Hung out with the rock stars, was a rock star himself. And
well,
and
that's where you're mistaken.
Yeah.
He didn't hang out with rock stars. The rock stars hung out with Sam. Sam never called any of them, goes, hey, what are you doing tonight?
Really?
They were all calling him.
I love it.
Or if he was doing a video, they all wanted to be in the video. I mean, he was the rock and roll shot comedian.
Yeah.
And they loved him. I think the rockers loved him more than the comedians did. I really do. And he had some close friends.
And he was very close to Howard Stern.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Did he
best
show a lot?
friends.
Yeah.
When they weren't arguing.
What was the story? Jessica Hahn, something happened with Jessica Hahn. I know she was in his music video.
Well, he had met her, and I think he met her at the Playboy Club.
Mhm.
Then we played Universal immediately after that. That's when I met her. She was backstage there. They had a one-night stand or affair or whatever, and then he couldn't get rid of her.
Oh boy.
And I'm not. She would show up at our shows. I'm talking about places like Kalamazoo, Michigan, and everything else. The radio stations would bring her in, thinking Sam will put her on stage. Well, no, but he did put her in Wild Thing, and she was actually the only one that got paid. Also, he gave her a waiver where she could sell the posters and things like that in Wild Thing. And but that was the extent of their relationship. Sam's joke was it wasn't a long relationship. Checkout was at 2, and so that's pretty close to what it was. But Jessica and I are actually friends today.
Oh, okay. All right,
Yeah.
that's good.
Every time Sam would go on Howard for a while, he'd always get Jessica, or she would call in or something. And sometimes it was a problem.
Yeah, I remember hearing some kind of clips where they were kind of like telling each other off a little bit. He said, all you do is talk about Jim Baker. All you got to talk about. He said, go get a job, right? Be a cashier.
Oh, yeah.
And I never saw this before, that he did Are You Lonesome Tonight on Johnny Carson. He can sing.
The first time I saw Sam Kinison perform, somebody brought a tape into my office. I laughed so hard, I was hysterical, because it was absolutely outrageous. But Sam, believe it or not, has undergone a transformation, because somebody brought a tape in the other day and said, I want you to hear this. And I didn't know who was singing from him, because it was that good. He's a fine singer. And Sam's going to, yeah, that's true. And there's a ventriloquist up in the audience there. And He's going to be performing this weekend at Bally's in Las Vegas. He's got a new single coming out. Would you welcome, please, Sam Kinison?
Are you lonesome tonight? Do you miss me tonight? Are you sorry we drifted apart? Does your memory stray to a bright summer day when I kissed you and called you sweetheart? Do the chairs in your parlor seem empty and bare? Do you gaze at your doorstep and picture me there? Is your heart filled with pain? Shall I call back again? Tell me, dear, are you lonesome tonight? You know, I wonder if you're lonesome tonight. I wonder a lot of things. Like, are you human? How do you live with yourself? Are you a reptile with a nice hairdo? You snaky tramp! You lied to me! When you told me you love me, you never loved me! You said forever, remember that one? Oh, there's a joke, forever! Yeah, forever, honey! Yeah, what does forever mean to you? Till another guy comes in your life with more money and a better car? Oh, I'm sorry, we better break up! I'm not growing as a person, we need to get away from each other. Oh, that was a great idea! Yeah, let's break up, honey! Did you grow any? Are you any taller? I'll tell you what you learned how to break my heart! But I'd rather go on hearing your lies than to go on live without you. That's how sick I am. Well, I'm standing here. The stage is bare. Oh, I can't say it. You know what you did! You know what you did! You were wrong! Say it, you stupid, stubborn pig! I was wrong! Is your heart filled with pain? Shall I call back again? Tell me, dear, are you lonesome tonight? I hope you do.
He sang at your wedding, right? He sang at your wedding?
Yes, he did. Well, that's because all the power went out. It was the hottest day of the year. And he had his acoustic guitar. So he sung You Are So Beautiful to my wife.
Aw.
Or my wife to be, actually.
Aw.
You know, and the people always ask about, you know, his voice. Do you ever get a horse? No, I think that was from 7 years of Pentecostal preachers. They pretty much, they'll find the scripture and then yell at it for an hour and a half. And so I think that's why I never ever was hoarse, because that's how we preached.
Right. Yep. I know all about that. And you could hear it when he was doing stand-up. You could hear the preacher in him, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And he'd go back and forth on stage. Yes.
That was his style. That was him.
Yep.
But that was our entire life, you know, from the time. And our parents never ever told us you're supposed to be a preacher or anything. But when you're in especially a Pentecostal preacher's house, because, you know, basically Pentecostal people are oppressed anyway. And so when you're raised in this family, there's almost like a psychological thing that you're supposed to be a preacher. That's why you're in this family.
Right.
And so Sam, myself, my older brother, my youngest brother, we all four preached at one time or another.
Yeah.
And our dad was a great preacher, and he taught us well. Well, all of us could preach.
Yeah. And you're still
But that's
preaching
how we
today.
did it.
Yeah. And you're still preaching today, right?
Well, yeah. I don't know that Pentecostal people would say
Right.
I am, but my belief foundations are a little different than the way I was raised, and right now we or what we do on the every Sunday for 30 minutes is it's really more motivation, but it's out of the Bible. I think the Bible is probably the greatest success textbook ever written, with showing us how to be successful in life, and that's pretty much what we what we're teaching there. And really, we went on to do that. We had a church in Upland that we opened, and I think, Sherry, was it 1 year or 2 years? Well, she's not here.
Oh.
I think it was maybe a year later, because we had a community theater, and Saturday night we'd have plays or we'd have concerts, things. Well, we'd have to break down, set up for church on Sunday morning, then break that down, set up for a play on 2:00 in the afternoon on Sunday. So I think it was after a year we thought, we can't do this anymore.
Yeah,
Even
that's
though we were
exhausting.
doing great, we had a lot of people, but I mean, that's a lot of work.
Sure.
And so I thought, well, we'll go on the internet. I'll do it for 30 minutes. And I figure in about 2 or 3 months, it'll peter out and everybody goes back to their own life. Well, it went the other direction. And now we run over 3,000 people live on a Sunday morning on our program.
That's wonderful.
And I really enjoy it. I really, really enjoy it. Welcome to the Gospel According to Kinison, and I am your man, Bill Kinison. We're all part of God, the infinite. This is what the Master Jesus meant when he said, I and my Father are one. What was he telling you? That you are one with God.
You could reach a lot of people on social media, a lot more than if you open the door and people come in, especially with the lockdown where nobody was leaving their house.
Oh, I know it.
Yep.
But if you had a strip club, you could go to the strip club. You just couldn't go to church.
Exactly. Tell me about it.
That was the truth in California.
It's true. Here in New York too. Oh, so crazy. I'm glad that's over. I just hope that doesn't happen
I
again.
am too.
Oh my
But they
goodness.
never, one thing I loved about Texas when you moved here, or when we moved here, is they never did mandate, the masks and things like that. They left it up to the local businesses. And I appreciated that, even though I still wore a mask and everything else.
Right.
It's a lot different when they tell you have to do something.
Exactly.
Instead of, giving you enough sense, that you would do it anyway.
Yeah.
And so that's one reason why I loved when we came to Texas. It was right in the middle of it.
And I think a lot of people are leaving the blue states.
Yeah.
Running for the hills.
Yeah, we were running from something. We just didn't know what.
Exactly.
I don't know if we still know what, but that's a different subject.
Right. Well, how do you think Sam would have handled all of this with the masks, the lockdowns, and the canceled comedians being canceled and things like that?
I think that Sam and I would have been in a dogfight, because Sam would not have backed off. He was liberal, but he never would have went for for this stuff.
Yeah.
And I know Sam well enough. He would not have, when he had all the gay pressure, he never stopped. When you're supposed to be anti-women, which was a joke, he never stopped.
Yeah.
And, and he wouldn't have stopped with this. So I just don't know where his platform would have been, because they would have done everything they could, especially somebody that, could draw 10,000 people a night.
Yeah.
I think they would have done everything they could to shut him down.
Yeah.
So it would have been a fight. It would have been funny and interesting though.
Right. Well, was he moving away from the comedy and moving more towards, movies and television?
Our goals were to do movies and television, and maybe do a 12-city tour in the summer, and then work the casinos. Well, while he's on his on his honeymoon,
Yeah.
I signed a three movie deal with New Line. We also signed his own Fox series on Fox called the Sam Kinison Family Entertainment Hour. We also signed a deal in Las Vegas at the Hilton for 3 years. And we were going to Laughlin. The reason we were going to Laughlin was to sign the contracts there, for me to sign the contracts and have a 3-year deal there. So our real goal was to be in movies and television. So I don't know how much, how much stand-up he would have done.
Right.
In your own world, in a perfect world, he'd have been a rocker. He always wanted to be a rocker. And but he was a natural comedian, so.
He really was. And there'll never be another one like him. Nobody ever came close or ever will come close.
No, you're right there.
Yeah.
He had his faults, he had his problems, but he knew how to touch people.
Like we all do.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Not one
Yep.
is righteous, not one of us.
Yep.
So it's been 30 years.
Yep.
Can you take us back to that day? I believe he got married on, was it April 5th? On your
April
father's
5th.
birthday?
Yep. Actually, on his dad's birthday, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, our dad, he wanted to get
Your
married
father's
on.
birthday.
I
Yeah.
remember we sitting around waiting. Now it's got to be like 2:00 in the morning. I go, hey, we're gonna do this or not? And I remember he said, I'm gonna do it like a tattoo. I'm gonna get drunk, I'm gonna get a tattoo, and then I'm gonna go, I did what? And pretty much that's pretty close to what he.
How
what
long
he
was he
did.
dating her? Like, I remember when he was on the Joan Rivers show, she was in the audience. How long was he dating her?
Oh, they dated 5 years, I think.
Oh, 5
I think it
years.
was 5 years. Yeah, they were, they lived together for quite a while.
Wow. Okay. But I heard she didn't go to the funeral.
No, it wasn't that close a relationship.
Okay.
I don't know what to tell. I'm just being honest with you. At
I know.
the memorial in
Yeah.
Hollywood, I took her in an office and I said, I've arranged where we can all fly to Tulsa, which is where the funeral was going to be and where he'd be buried. And I said, I've arranged that we can ride on the plane, with him, and here's your first class ticket. And she handed it back and said, I'm not going.
Oh, wow.
So I said, all right. And I didn't ask her why. And anyway, that's how it came down.
Yeah.
So she did not go.
Right. Okay. Who's Carl? I think I saw a video with Carl.
LeBeau,
Now he said something
we
that
were
he,
best friends at one time.
okay, because I
Quite
think
a
I
while.
saw a video where he said he was in his arms when he passed. Something like that.
Well,
Can you clear that up?
it also, people said he was up walking around and everything else. I'll give you the real truth
Okay.
of what actually transpired. We had just got gas. He was supposed to fly in. He wasn't even supposed to be driving. He was supposed to fly into Vegas and then they'd pick him up in a limo. I had Carl LeBeau, his opening act, and his security. I had rented a van because I wanted to come home after the show on Sunday. And so we stopped and got gas. Well, then it started getting a little strange. He wanted us to empty out his car and put all the stuff in the van. And I said, we're only 20 miles from Laughlin. And he goes, no, I want everything out. And then he had this dog that he always took everywhere, Russo. And he said, put Russo in the van too. And so I'm like, all right. But I'm really confused here. We're 20 miles away. We've already driven, 220 miles. And then the last 20 miles, he wants us to do all this. And so then he pulled out in front of me, which he never did. He didn't know where he was going. And we got on the next road to go to Laughlin, which was a river road. We drove about 3 miles and it was getting to be dusk and you could see this pickup. It was a 2-lane road and you could see this pickup passing all these cars. And he's over in our lane. And I started talking to Sam. Naturally, he couldn't hear me, but I was talking anyway, telling him, hey, slow down, slow down, let this guy back in line. And he did. And we probably slowed down to 15 miles an hour. Well, at the last second, the truck got back in line. The problem is there was a second truck that was following him and didn't know that Sam was there. And we didn't know the second truck was there. And so you had about a second of relief, and then they hit head on. And so I slid the van as close as I could, and the security guy jumped out, but he couldn't get the door of his car open. So I'm just a little guy, but I guess the adrenaline was flowing.
Yeah.
So I jerked the door open. Sam was sitting in the driver's seat. The steering wheel was non-existent. The only marks on him is he had about 4 scratches on his forehead where he'd hit the windshield. But other than that, we didn't know. I knew he was hurt, but none of us knew he was dying.
Right.
And when I opened the door, he was still sitting in the seat, and he was saying, he looked at me and said, "Why? Why now?" And I'm like, "Sam, just lay still." He's trying to get out of the car. I said, just sit still. We got help on the way. But I don't know if we do or not, because I can't get anything on my phone or his phone. I had both of them. And so I went around to check on Malika, his wife.
Mhm.
And she was unconscious, but we found out later she was unconscious because she was drunk rather than injured. And so then they said these guys were trapped in this truck, and there was gas pouring out of it. So I went over there, I jerked that door open, and got the driver out, just a young kid, 17 years old, a football player.
Wow.
And I told him, I want you to go over there and look at these people in that car, and then I want you to sit here on the side of the highway. So he got out. Well, first he looked at his truck and said, "Look what he did to my effing truck."
Oh boy.
And I said, "Well, you got more worries than that. You're probably going to be working for these people the rest of your life. So go sit down."
Mm-hmm.
So he went over and sat down. Well, I went back to Sam, and he is scooting out of the seat, and we couldn't hold him in there. He weighed 280 pounds.
Yeah.
So I said, "Well, let's just lay him right here where the door in the car is." And so we laid him there. No one was holding him. So I hate to, bust Carl's balloon, but I was afraid that he might have a neck injury or something. So I didn't want him moved at all.
Yeah.
I was standing there. We had a couple other bystanders. And the thing that got my attention was that Russo, which was a totally untrained dog, he was in the van. He had his paws up on the dash, and he's looking out the windshield over Sam's body or whatever, and he's looking at something.
Wow.
And so that got my attention. And so then I went over to where Sam was, and he said 3 times, he told me, he said, "I don't want to die." But he wasn't like he was afraid. It was like he was negotiating with someone. And he also wasn't talking to me. He was talking to someone else that we couldn't see. And he was focused on them. And he's like, "I don't want to die." Then finally, the 3rd time, he said, "I don't want to die." And then whatever they said to him, he went, "Okay, okay, okay," and took his last breath. And he was gone. He was gone immediately. And then you had the police and the ambulance and stuff that got there, but he was already gone. And
So
that's the real thing of what happened out there. He never walked around. Carl or no one else was holding him. It was pretty much him and I, just brothers.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. I know it can't be too easy to, relive that, talk about that. But
Well, sometimes it's very therapeutic,
Yeah.
and being the victim of your husband's
Yeah.
Car wreck, it's kind of, even though it's been 30 years, sometimes it's very therapeutic, makes you feel better. And I know where Sam's at. I'm not worried about
Yeah.
about any of that. I don't listen to those kind of people.
Right.
And I know he wasn't in pain. He's in absolutely no pain. And I know that he welcomed, after he got through negotiating, they offered him a deal I guess he couldn't pass up on.
Right.
And I know that he decided to do that. And that's his choice.
Yeah.
And
It's
I
so
miss him.
beautiful. Yeah, of course.
And I still love him. And
You sound like him.
this time isn't.
You do. You
Yeah,
sound like him a little.
I used to do his interviews.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It got a lot easier. Well, the way that it ended up was in Austin, Texas, actually. And the promoters wanted Sam to do some phoners to build up the crowd at 5:00. And I said, that's not going to happen. And it wasn't, believe me, he was in no condition. And so then they said, well, why don't you do it? And I said, I can't. I'm not going to do Sam's interviews. And they said, you sound just like him. You do it.
You do. Yes.
And so I said, all right, I'll do it this one time. And so I remember I did it. We walked up 1,000 people, and I didn't do IDs because I didn't want to play it over and over, and they figured it out. And no one ever, except for one guy in Boston, Sam's the one that told him. But he's the only one that would
Otherwise,
ever
he wouldn't have
figured out that I
known.
was doing it. Be pretty much, hey man,
Right.
Sam
Right.
Kinison, I want you to be in my show tonight. That kind of
That's
stuff.
great.
And but Sam, we're in Boston, and as we're going there, we get a call from this radio station, big radio station, wants Sam to do a phoner on the way to the show. So Sam's like, dude, I don't want to do it. You do it. So I do it. Well, Sam gets up in front of, I don't know, 7,000, 8,000 people that night. And he goes, how many heard me on whatever the radio's, WBCN, I think it was. WBCN today. And they're like, yeah. That wasn't even me. That was my brother. Well, this Mark Parento is 6'6", the DJ. And he's standing next to me and he's looking at me. And I said, dude, it was either me or no one. So
That's
sorry
great.
you found out this way. But yeah, I did a lot of, after we found out that I could do it, I did a lot of them. It was easier for me and easier for him than having to deal with to get him up to do it. So I did it.
Right. Well, I don't know if you heard Tom Hanks' brother sounds just like him, and he was the voice of Woody in Toy Story. It wasn't even Tom
was it
Hanks.
really? I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah, he didn't have time. Half the time he didn't have time to do the voiceover, so his brother did it. Nobody knew. Oh. Well,
And I
getting
did
back-
just about all of his print, all of the print stuff you would see. I did pretty much those interviews because they, wasn't on the radio.
Yeah.
So I did more than just manage.
what was it like meeting all of these people, famous people that you only saw them on TV or in the movies or listened to them on the radio? Now you're meeting them. How did that feel?
Sam was more impressed than I was. And I became, we became, and I became very close, friends with a lot of them. And I found out that most of them, there was two things that intrigued them. First thing is that I was a preacher. And that just intrigued the hell out of them. I don't know why, but it did. And then the other thing is, once they know you, they just want to be a guy or a gal.
Yeah.
And so I had great conversations with Sylvester Stallone, which was very close friend. Jim Carrey, very close friend. Jim used to go on our vacations with us and stuff.
Mm.
And so meeting them wasn't the charge for me as it was for Sam. And I'd already, for 7 years, I'd been preaching in the same civic centers and stuff that Sam did his shows in. So I knew the crew. I was running, 3,000 to 5,000 people a night. And so I guess maybe with that celebrity status, it didn't, I always gave them the respect. And believe me, I really respected meeting them. And it was cool. I mean,
Yeah.
people you see on TV and all of a sudden, they're calling your house and stuff. That's kind of cool.
It's like surreal,
so,
I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a charge.
Yeah.
Still friends with many of them today. I did Robin Williams' eulogy,
Oh, did
and I
you?
also did Fred Willard's eulogy, and
Wow.
his wife's, and Mary. You know,
Yeah. I knew Fred Willard because my daughters were in a movie with him. They were in
fantastic person.
yeah,
One of
he
my
was
closest friends.
so wonderful. Very, very sweet person.
Yes, he was very much so. Thank God for his wife Mary, because she pushed him every bit of the way. She was
Yeah.
the strong one there.
Oh,
But Fred was a fantastic person. For anybody that was lucky enough to get to know him,
yeah.
he was as nice to a makeup person as he'd be to a celebrity.
Yeah.
He was just a fantastic person.
Yeah.
I miss him a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
And
miss
Bob
a lot of
Saget.
people.
I know.
was-
I was going to say, and
Here.
Bob Saget is another one that's
Yeah,
gone.
my
And
good friend Judy Tenuta.
yeah.
You know,
Now
Just-
I read about Bill Hicks that he accepted Jesus on his deathbed, and he said that Sam appeared to him in a dream. Did you hear that?
no, I didn't. Very
Yeah.
interesting, though.
Yeah. So what I read was Bill Hicks accepted Jesus on his deathbed. His Baptist pastor led him to the Lord. And the pastor said, he told everyone at the funeral. And he had said that Bill said that Sam appeared to him in a dream and said, come on already. Come on. What are you waiting for? Come through the veil. But I think he said it like, come on.
Well, Bill Hicks was considerably younger than Sam. I don't know if he was as anxious to go as Sam wanted him to. I'm glad to hear that, though. Bill was a good guy. Good guy. He started with us in Houston. He
Yeah.
came out with Sam, actually, with about 5 other guys to L.A.
And he ended up with cancer, right? I think he had cancer.
Yeah.
Oh.
And he went pretty quick with it.
Well, I want to read this quote from Ozzy Osbourne. After your brother died, he said, apparently when Sam had the accident, I heard he got out of the car and looked up to the heavens and said, I don't want to die. And then just said, okay, and laid down and died. It sounds crazy and will probably offend a lot of my fans, but I believe there's a higher power. Some people may think Sam Kinison's in one place, but I know where he is. He's upstairs. He's next to God.
Well, I agree with Ozzy, although he didn't get up and walk around, but a pretty close story. Pretty close story. But Ozzy's a great guy. They met.
Yeah.
I was going to quit. If Sam didn't clean up, I was quitting. So
That had to be scary for you, Bill, right? To see him, getting high all the
well,
time.
let's just say it was probably the best prevention to drugs and alcohol you could ever have, is just hang around somebody that's got a real problem.
Right.
Then you're definitely never going to do it. And but they met. Ozzy was stepping over Sam at a AA meeting that had fell asleep in the doorway. And as Ozzy stepping over, Sam came to him and goes, "Hey, Ozzy!" And that's how they met each other.
Wow.
And great guy. Ozzy Osbourne's a great guy. I love him.
Yeah.
He can't ever come to San Antonio after peeing on the Alamo, but other than that.
And did he really bite the head off a bat or what?
Now he says he didn't.
He said he didn't, right?
He said he didn't, that it was a fake one, but I got to go back to the Alamo story. Now that
Okay, tell us about that.
Because his story is that he had done his show. He's in the limo. They're heading back, I guess, to wherever they're staying, and he has to take a leak really bad. So he tells this guy, pull over the side of the road, and he goes over to what he thinks is a warehouse and pees on the side of it. Well, for anyone that's ever been to the Alamo, first, it's right downtown. Second, you don't just pull to the side of the road and walk a few feet over. It's probably closest place you can park is probably a block away.
Right.
And
right.
third, it definitely doesn't look like a warehouse. So I'm not buying Ozzy's story on that. And it makes me doubt now if I ever see him again, I'm going to go, dude, tell me the truth about the bat then.
Yeah, exactly.
Alamo thing, man.
Too funny.
See, there were harder clients to manage than Sam. I think Ozzy would have been a nightmare.
Oh yeah. His wife is a saint for being able to handle him.
Sharon, she's tough enough.
She is tough.
One I've ever met in this business.
Yeah. Oh, you met her. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you saw what they did to her. That was terrible.
Oh, yeah. Well,
They railroaded her. You're not allowed to say, speak your opinion anymore. If they
no,
don't like
no.
it, if it's not their opinion, you're gone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. You're right.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where we're at.
Yeah. So, well, I really appreciate you coming on and talking about your brother. And I just, thank you.
Well, I really-
Thank you
I
for,
really
thank you for
enjoyed
the story.
it. Very, very relaxed, a very easy interview.
Yeah.
And
Well, I
you look at a
appreciate
pretty
that.
woman and that makes it even better, you know?
Thank you for that. Thank
No,
you for
I've
that.
enjoyed it immensely, believe me. We'll do
Yeah.
this again sometime.
I would love to. I would love for you to come back on. This was great. And yeah, I just want to get back to one more question about that night when your brother
All
passed
right.
away. Only because I kind of struggle with this after losing my husband. Do you believe that everyone has a set day? Like, do you believe that that was the day that he was supposed to go? Or do you believe it was an accident that took him out too soon and he would have lived longer if it wasn't for the accident?
I don't necessarily believe there's a date,
Okay.
that 5 o'clock in 2030, you're going to walk across a crosswalk because you're not paying attention and get wiped out and boom.
Right.
I do believe, I don't think there's anything that surprises God. So I don't care if somebody goes out and commits suicide. That doesn't surprise God. He knew all about it. He knew it was going to happen before it ever happened. I believe also that for a lot of folks that you have to give up the ghost, so to speak. I think that death, and I've been with a lot of people when they've taken their last breath, including my family members.
Yeah.
And the thing that I've always noticed that every single one of them were ready for that moment. They were ready for it. They may not have been 10 seconds before, but death is very seductive. And I think you get close enough that you go, I'm ready. And as much as your husband, I'm sure, loved you, and I love Sam, and I love all my family members. I'm the only one left now. And, but I know that where they're at is better by far than anything they've ever experienced in this life. And if they could come back, if Sam could come back, he wouldn't do it.
Right. I totally agree.
I don't believe your husband, as much as he loves you,
I totally agree.
I don't think he would come back.
No.
And so there's a few things I've never asked God. My first brother was murdered. My youngest brother was murdered.
Oh,
My
I'm so
mother
sorry.
died from being a victim of an armed robbery. So I've had some tragedies in my life. Sam died in a car wreck.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've never asked God why, because I believe that he knows all things. And so I don't have to know why.
Right.
I do know that he is all powerful. He could have changed that situation with your husband or anybody else. He could change that in a moment.
Right.
But that's not the way it was supposed to be. And I do know the third thing, which is the most important, and that is he loves me too much to hurt me. Nothing
Amen.
has ever happened in my life. And I've had things that people would think was bad.
Yeah.
But not one of them was ever to hurt me. God loves me too much to hurt me. Too wise to make a mistake. Too powerful to fail. And he loves me too much to hurt me. Those three things I've remembered my whole life. And that's what's got me through.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
I totally agree. Yes. Oh, God bless you, Bill. Would you mind closing us out in prayer?
No, I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
Heavenly Father, I thank you for this opportunity that you gave us today. to be able to show and reveal a little of your light. I ask that you speak for those that are battling with depression during this time. God, speak a word of encouragement. Speak to that God inside of them to rise up and bring victory, bring healing, bring success and prosperity for this coming year into every part of their life. Now give you all the praise. Amen.
Amen.
I think that's the first interview I've ever prayed on.
Really? Aw.
So we got a few
thank you.
first here.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you for that. And I hope you come on
For having
again.
me on.
I have more questions for you, so we have to definitely do a part 2. I would love for you to
Well,
come on again in the
anything
new
you
year.
want. Anything.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. God bless
Thank
you. And God bless Sherry and your family. Have a happy new year. And hope
And you
to
too.
speak
You
to you
got
soon.
any children?
I have 5 daughters and 2
All right.
grandchildren.
Uh,
I have 5. We finally got the boy. We got a grandson. So we finally
Did
got a
you
boy in the
finally?
family. Yeah.
Well,
lot of
my daughter's
hormones.
the only daughter in our entire family, so she was spoiled rotten, still is.
Yeah.
But you have
That'll be the
happy
boy.
holidays with all your family.
Thank you so much.
And
You
thanks
too,
for
Bill.
having me on.
Thank you. And I want to tell everyone to please look for you on Facebook. And it's the Gospel According to Bill Kinison.
It's a Bill Kinison Facebook page.
Yes. Okay. And I'm going to put the links in the description below. Thank you so much.
Thank
Okay.
you, hon.
Take care
All right.
now. God bless you.
I used to preach. I used to study the Bible. It's a pretty fascinating book.
Woo, I've done it, brother. I've done it. I've screamed at God at the top of my lungs because that's how much I believe in him. Amen. That's how personal I feel like my relationship is. If I can't be myself with the Father, then I'm going to stop preaching this gospel.